I am hot and I am bi. And I have mental illness.
Have you ever wondered what it's like being married to a gender fluid person? Every day I make a habit of asking them what their gender is. They answer between the numbers 1 and 10, 1 being more masculine, 10 being more feminine, or they just simply answer neither. So when I asked this today, they answered work.
Indeed. We do have a ton of work to do. Why do all of these people think alike, dress alike, look alike? Well, socially, I spoke about this in a video a few weeks ago. I'll have that linked in the description below for you guys. But mentally, I think the answer is mental illness. Borderline personality disorder being one of those issues. And we're gonna talk about that today. Welcome to another psychological deep dive. Now, one of the ways we are able to diagnose somebody with a mental illness, and this is therapists and doctors included, is by recognizing patterns that they have that are similar to others with that same mental illness. And now in saying that, I am not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I am very aware and have been studying these people from afar for a while and have noticed a few patterns. And I'm going to simply use those patterns to show you why I think a lot of these people do have borderline personality disorder, which for those of you who do not know is a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects and marked impulsivity. Borderline personality disorder is something that is usually there for years, right? Usually stemming from starting in childhood. The two main issues that we see quite frequently in this are instability and impulsivity. You know, impulsivity, like, I don't know, rapid onset gender dysphoria, or doing absolutely no research on a political or social justice trend and hopping onto it just because it's popular at that moment.
Queer rights, trans rights.
Impulsivity, on the other hand, is when people can't control their emotions or have intense changes in their emotions.
Why am I transphobic, huh? Why? No. Am I being transphobic? Why?
Shut up!
What? Oh, wow.
Answer my question.
Did we trigger you?
I hope you can go rot in hell, you f***ing wife. You wanna go fight?
Instability, you know, like, I don't know, changing your gender by the change of the tides and the positions of the moon and the solar eclipse.
My labels, identities, pronouns vary day to day, minute to minute, based on how much I feel like explaining myself, how much I feel like confusing people, and how tired I am.
This might be a hot take, but instead of calling it non-binary, we should just start calling it nonsense because it makes a zero. As a community, they cannot even get behind a set definition on this label.
Not non-binary as in yeet the teat. Non-binary as in would sometimes like remove and set aside and sometimes would like put back.
Instability in, you know, relationships. I even posted a video about this on TikTok the other day. If you're not following me on there, go do so. I just started posting. And that video was making fun of the current dating pool situation. Instability with family.
I have no contact with my family. All of them. Siblings, parents, cousins, everybody. I had to go through an intense dumpster full of guilt.
Regardless of what most of these people say about themselves, I honestly don't think they have a consistent understanding of who they are and what they're capable of.
In my bio, I have the pronouns they, them, unless a pink heart and then a blue heart. Purple for they, them, like non-binary, pink for girl and blue for boy, right? I'd like you all to use they, them for me unless I say otherwise, because for the most part, I always feel somewhere on the non-binary spectrum.
They are constantly searching for new words, new ideas, people, even people that they think will help them figure it all out. Funnily enough, except when they actually are given the tools to help themselves, they decide to call that a controlling technique. It's almost like these people just want to stay victims.
One of the many ways that colonial mental health, wellness, self-help culture shows up in our society is through the framework of control, power, and domination. And the way that that looks like is using verbiage like we just need to be able to control our thoughts, our feelings, our mind, our bodies. This idea that you need to force yourself into a state of discomfort in order to regulate your emotions.
No, it is understanding that at its core, you are the only person that is in control of your emotions and control your responses to life situations. We are trying to teach you to control yourself in a good way. Not all control is bad, right? You control your dating habits, you control your eating habits, don't you? And like any other mental illness, borderline personality disorder is a spectrum, right? It can be minute to the extreme. I recently spoke to a therapist friend of mine who focuses specifically on queerness and transgenderness, not transsexualism, in regards to borderline personality disorder, and honestly, the results are quite shocking, but not surprising if you followed my channel for a while. Speaking of controlling your habits, one of my favorite habits, because we know not all habits are bad things, my favorite habit at the moment is using my friends over at Ground News, yes, they're sponsoring this video, to get all of my news in one place. Ground News is a fantastic app and website to make sure that you're getting your news while not falling into an echo chamber. I mean, we all know how mainstream media can cause extreme political division on all sides, right? One article that specifically caught my eye this week was this one about the NAIA approving a trans policy that limits women's sports to people who were born female. You can go and check out Ground News at this website right here, ground.news/Ariel, or you can scan the QR code right here on screen. There are over 140 articles written about this topic, which is fairly evenly distributed across the political spectrum in this case. But if that's not the case and you want to see articles from every other side of the equation, you can simply click the left or right buttons. And it's crazy because looking at just the headline of each article alone shows the variety of opinions on each topic. In cases like this, it is impossible to see the full story from just one news source, right? That's why Ground News is extremely important. In a world where it's extremely easy to get caught up in manipulative algorithms that constantly reinforce our egos and our biases, it is important to seek out diverse opinions. So go and check them out and make sure you support companies that support your morals and this channel and get a better way to read the news. You could subscribe using the link in the description below or use ground.news/Ariel to get 40% off unlimited access. Back to borderline personality disorder. Never thought I would say that in a sentence on this channel, but here we are. There are 9 specific traits that you have to look out for according to psychologists. Number 1 is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. This sounds an awful lot like the constant need for validation of whatever they need at that moment. Let's say for their gender, for their supposed disability, or just simply why life isn't working out the way they wanted to. Number 2 is a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. Honestly, this sounds an awful lot like going from love bombing to the left eating its own based on whatever rules they changed that day. Number 3, identity disturbance. Markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. We spoke about that briefly in this video before we talked about instability. Maybe they changed their name, their hair, their gender, their sexuality, their pronouns. This is also a very big reason why these people are easily controllable. Again, they all look, dress, act, think, are alike because they don't know who they truly are. A quick note from a therapist friend of mine. People with borderline personality disorder typically have identity confusion ranging from mild to extreme. The lack of a developed identity can make the idea of having a certain and stable identity very appealing, since identity is an anchor for stability in one's thoughts, behaviors, emotions, etc. People with borderline personality disorder are often very black and white thinkers like narcissists. Either you are with me or against me. That doesn't sound familiar at all. They certainly need and lack ambiguity to decrease stress. Not to mention that people with BPD have unstable self-image and self-worth and are hypersensitive to invalidation. Also, doesn't sound familiar at all, does it? Invalidation related to identity is extra intense to those with BPD because it is perceived as an attack on their identity, which is a source of intense insecurity. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Number 4, impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. For example, spending a ton of money frivolously, being hypersexual and slutty, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating.
I'm plus size and on a plane. Of course I can't put the tray table down. I'm plus size and on a plane. Of course I have to shimmy down the aisle sideways.
I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I have realized that a lot of people that probably have BPD are, in fact, highly sexual.
Even though I'm covered and my body's covered because there's a little bit of titty showing, y'all feel just comfortable misgendering me so much.
Number 5, recurring suicidal behavior, gestures or threats, or self-mutilating behavior. Number 6, affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. The 2 videos that you just watched that were side by side were literally posted by the same person in the same day. Here's another note from my therapist friend. Mild to extreme dissociation from one's physical body, more likely those with BPD, depending on whether they are raised with attuned, example, aware of childhood emotions and needs, or abusive parents. Dissociation can lead to a feeling of disconnecting from one's body, which can also be very disturbing. This makes confusion about or even distributed attributes towards one's body very easy. Number 7, chronic feelings of emptiness. People with borderline personality disorder tend to have hatred or simply panic when around those who are not validating their identity. And in my opinion, it's very likely because there is actually no real base of truth to it. It is built on lies, whether it's lies that they tell themselves or lies that society tells them. Listen to what this trans man said about having both gender dysphoria and borderline personality disorder.
I think borderline is primarily about identity and feeling safe. A lot of my behaviors were like avoidant behavior and isolating and searching for identity, searching for sort of healthy ego. With the gender stuff, I finally was enacting who I was on the inside.
Projection is also extremely common in those that suffer with BPD, and they are likely to project that hatred onto others.
Tired of white cis women being more dedicated to being called a healer than actually doing the work to be a healer. The only thing that you're worried about healing is your bruised ego and being confronted with your complacency in genocide and your obsession with upholding privilege. We do not need more nice white women. Are you kidding me? And stop asking marginalized people to do the work for you because you don't feel comfortable with it.
I'm praying because we need you. We need something down here because this is just ridiculous. Hating white women is a projection. This person is said thing. These people hate having their identities invalidated and then project that hatred onto others. Number 8, inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger. Example, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, reoccurrent physical fights. People with borderline personality disorder usually have a lot of anger and are looking for a justified way to express it or to release it. For queer people, it might be the projection of, you hate trans people, you hate queer people, you want us dead. And then they go out and tear up a rape center that's meant for, biological women only. For Black Lives Matter people, it might be burning down an entire city. When somebody with BPD has an identity which they are trying to be so sure of, threatened, it feels like a profound threat to their stability. Some may leave the realm of rational and become briefly psychotic. People with BPD are already typically oppositional and defiant of others, so this opposition combined with the gaping and fearsome emptiness of having no identity, which is invalidation, tends to promote a vicious response, especially when such a response is sanctioned by their community. I suspect this is why we are seeing such a terrorist-like response from certain trans people, such as stabbed transphobes or some other call to violence. Number 9, transient or stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. Here's what my friend said. People with borderline personality disorder have little to no internal organization due to lack of internal stabilizing features like identity. So, they are so attracted to cults and other external sources that assign an identity and their structure, predictability, and stability. People with BPD tend to experience dissociation and quite easily. They are also able to experience psychosis, which is not reality, far more easily than the average person due to some complicated psychological mechanisms. Dissociation and even mild psychosis is a recipe for being able to hold very strange beliefs about oneself. And this is his final note. People with BPD are very likely to get their stability from external sources, such as those who they associate with, right? Their group of friends, their echo chamber. Borderline individuals are also highly suggestible and very easily able to be influenced, especially by those who they idolize. Hello, Jeffrey Marsh. They tend to dissolve into the identity of those around them. Hence, why do they all look like this?
Up until yesterday, I worked at Blunt Pretzels. I asked the general manager to stand up for trans rights and against our genocide, and he laughed in my face. The owner His father is a Nazi. His son is the general manager.
And that is the end of this psychological deep dive. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you go and check out Ground News. They are an amazing sponsor and have been helping out this channel for quite some time. Go to ground.news/Ariel for 40% off unlimited access. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure to do that now and go and follow me on my TikTok page. I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, I love you, love yourselves, keep calling out the bullshit. Bye.